My parents tried to give my inheritance to their favorite daughter, but my grandparents had a surprising twist in store. I'm a 28-year-old male from a family with a convoluted and long history of favoritism. My younger sister, Amy, who is 25, has always been preferred by my parents, especially my dad, over me. Starting in our childhood, this partiality only got worse as we grew up. Amy was the golden child from my earliest memories. When I was 5 and she was 2, our parents threw her an elaborate birthday party, including professional face painters, a bouncy castle, and a petting zoo. For my birthday that same year, I had a store-bought cake and a little family supper. This helped define the tone for years to come. The differences became clearer as we aged. Amy always received the newest toys, the greatest clothes, and the most attention. I recall saving months of allowance for a new bike when I was 10 years old. Amy wanted one too, and she had a fit when she saw mine. Rather than teaching her about waiting or saving, my parents went right out and got her an even nicer bike than mine. Another area where the bias was evident was school. Amy's parents attended all of her school functions, while they usually missed mine. I had a starring role in the school play in 4th grade. I practiced for weeks, driven by great enthusiasm. My parents arrived an hour late on the night of the play, missing my major scene. They were consoling Amy after she complained of a stomachache. She was fine later on. They had simply lost track of time playing with her. Regarding academics, nothing I ever did seemed sufficient. I joined the math club, often received straight A's in middle school, and even took first place in a regional science fair. Though my parents hardly noticed these successes, they gave Amy a celebratory dinner and purchased her a new phone as encouragement to keep getting better when she scored a B+ on one test in her weakest subject. High school in particular was difficult. With an eye toward their approval, I threw myself into whatever activity I could. Along with keeping a 4.0 GPA, I was editor of the school newspaper and captain of the debate team. Amy cruised through school, barely keeping a C average, and spent much of her time hanging out with friends. I was chosen from our university as one of 2 junior-year applicants to participate in a famous summer program at Harvard. It was such an honor, and I felt great. My dad grumbled and changed the topic to Amy's forthcoming dancing performance when I told them the news over supper. My mother, at least, remarked, "That's nice," but she moved on fast. My parents couldn't bring me to the airport on the night I was leaving for Harvard. Amy's concert fell on the same day, and they wanted to see Amy perform. I asked the parents of a friend for a ride. Another agonizing experience was the college application process. I worked for months on improving my essays, engaged in extracurricular activities, and did SAT preparation. Several elite colleges accepted me, and I was given a sizable scholarship to my ideal college. When I told my parents about this at supper, their reaction was barely passable. "That's good, but don't let it go to your head. College isn't everything," my dad advised. "Just remember about us when you're off becoming a big shot," my mother said. On the other hand, my parents were quite understanding when Amy barely passed high school and chose not to attend college. They admired her for knowing herself and for defying social expectations, something they never did for me. They even paid for a car for her as a graduation gift. Emotionally, this persistent favoritism hurt me greatly over my teens and early 20s. I battled anxiety and despair, beginning therapy in college. I came to realize that my parents' actions were not my fault. Years of effort were needed to develop my self-esteem and learn to validate myself, rather than depending on my parents' approval. My immediate family did not help me, yet I still managed to lead a decent life. By the time I graduated from college with honors, I had a decent job in finance and even purchased my own house by 27 years old. Though my parents aren't, I'm proud of what I've accomplished. Here is where the current drama begins. My grandfather on my dad's side died not too long ago. He left a sizable estate. He was a successful businessman who started from nothing. In his will, he split his possessions equally among his grandchildren, including me, Amy, and our cousins, as well as his children, my dad, and his siblings. My portion of the bequest was significant, roughly $500,000. It would have allowed me to invest in my future, pay off my education loans, and perhaps even launch my own company someday. This unanticipated windfall and the chances it could present made me happy. When the will was read, though, my parents clearly became agitated. Later, they drew me aside and told me they felt it was unjust that I received an equal portion. They said Amy, who lives in our parents' basement and works part-time at a coffee shop, needed the money more since she was suffering. Though stunned, I attempted to keep cool. I clarified that Grandpa made this decision, and they had no say in how he decided. They insisted I should act morally and give Amy my share. They became enraged when I turned them down and began guilt-tripping me, calling me unappreciative and selfish. Every incident my dad could recall where they had helped me came under discussion. He emphasized paying for my medically necessary braces, buying me school supplies, the bare minimum, and allowing me to live at home during college. He conveniently forgot about the car they bought Amy, the many shopping sprees, and the fact they still support her at 25. The matter got rapidly more serious. Acting as the will's executive, my dad chose to handle things himself. He declared that, along with her own inheritance, he would be interpreting Grandpa's intentions and giving Amy my whole share. He said Grandpa would have wished this if he had known our unique situation. I was heartbroken. This was not only obviously illegal, but also a terrible reminder of how little my parents thought of me. I tried to reason with them, pointing out that Grandpa had always treated all his grandchildren equally and was aware of our circumstances. Then, my mother accused me of speaking ill of the deceased by implying Grandpa would have preferred anything other than what my dad was advocating. They said Grandpa wanted to make sure Amy was taken care of and had privately voiced worry about her future. They had no response when I asked why he hadn't simply written the will that way. Amy, for her part, was awkward about the circumstances but did not criticize our parents. She merely shrugged and said, "Mom and Dad know best." When I tried to talk to her alone, she obviously wasn't going to be much help. Feeling misled and wounded, I asked Grandpa's widow, my paternal grandma, for guidance. Hearing what was happening, she became enraged. She informed me that my parents had no authority to alter the will and that this was exactly not what Grandpa had planned. Grandma sent me some material that clarified the matter. Several years ago, apparently, my parents had asked Grandpa to give everything to Amy in his will. Grandpa had steadfastly objected, saying he thought all of his grandchildren should be treated equally. He had even included a stipulation in his will declaring that anyone challenging the equitable distribution would lose their portion. Equipped with this knowledge, I confronted my parents. Grandma's disclosure of their earlier attempt to influence the will startled them. My dad tried to defend it by saying they were only looking out for Amy's future, but I could see the guilt on their faces. Grandmother acted right away. She got in touch with the will's other executor and the attorney. She also contacted my dad's siblings, who shared her equally strong indignation at what he was attempting. Taken together, they stopped my dad's scheme and guaranteed that the will would be carried out as stated. Though they are unhappy with me, my parents were obliged to back off. They argued I should have handled this in-house instead of involving others, and accused me of turning the family against them. My mother sobbed, saying I had split the family and deceived them. I said I had never expected anything from them anyway. They are threatening to break off all communication. My dad even went so far as to suggest that I would not be welcome in their house if I inherit it. In a particularly low blow, my mother remarked that my acceptance of the money reveals that I never truly loved them and was merely ready to profit from their passing. The matter splits the extended family. A few of my cousins are encouraging, as they understand the long-standing favoritism and respect me for standing up for myself. Others believe I should have given in to preserve peace, since they feel family harmony comes first over financial considerations. Although my dad's siblings are definitely on my side, this has strained their relationship with my parents. Amy finds herself caught up in all this. She confided in me privately that, although she feels bad and didn't ask for this, she isn't ready to challenge our parents. She's been trained her whole life to depend on them and seek their praise. I don't blame her entirely, but a part of me still longs for her to stand up for me just once. This circumstance has brought out a lot of past suffering and bitterness. I find myself remembering all the times I was passed over or discounted in favor of Amy, the birthday celebrations I missed, the school functions my parents missed, the successes that went unnoticed. This one occurrence seems to be bringing a lifetime of unfairness to a head. Though the whole affair has caused a great divide in the family, I am keeping my ground and want to take my inheritance as Grandpa meant. My parents hardly talk to me, and family get-togethers have grown awkward. I missed our monthly family dinner last week for the first time ever, because I couldn't stand the cold shoulders and accusing glares. Though there is turmoil, a tiny bit of me feels empowered. I'm confronting the unfair treatment by my parents for the first time in my life. I'm declaring my value and refuse to be written off. It's both terrible and freeing at once. Although I think I'm in the right here, the family drama is draining me, something I hadn't experienced since college. I have started having anxiety attacks once more. To help handle all this stress, I'm thinking about returning to therapy. Am I wrong for refusing to comply with my parents' expectations and accepting my inheritance? Should I have simply handed Amy the money to maintain peace? Although I'm tired of being the family scapegoat, I also fear losing my family entirely. Any guidance or viewpoint would be much appreciated. Update. Since my first post 6 months ago, a lot has happened. I want to thank everyone for their support and guidance. It truly kept me strong during trying circumstances. Let me start with the legal aspect of things. Many of you advised, and I did see my own attorney. He verified that I had every right to inherit, and that what my dad attempted was, in fact, illegal. He helped me document everything and prepare to act legally if needed. Fortunately, things didn't unfold that way. My grandma, her attorney, and my dad's siblings worked things out without involving court. I received my full inheritance, and the will was carried out exactly as intended. Because of his attempts to manipulate the will, my dad was removed as an executor. This was a somewhat demanding process, spanning several weeks. My parents threatened litigation. There were tense meetings and furious phone calls. But ultimately, the law was unambiguous, and they had to back off. Still ongoing, though, the family fallout has been noteworthy. At first, my parents doubled down on their viewpoint. They accused me of being greedy and neglectful of my sister. They also tried to turn other family members against me, spreading allegations that I had somehow coerced Grandpa into giving me money. Luckily, most of the family saw through their scheme. About 1 month following the will's acceptance, there was one really unpleasant incident at a family gathering. My parents showed up unannounced at my aunt's house. She was hosting and hadn't invited them. They started a scene, shouting about how I had taken from Amy and corrupted Grandma against her. My dad started shouting, saying I had ruined all these wonderful memories. My mother flung an old photo album squarely at my feet. It was awkward and terrible. It took several relatives to cool things down and persuade my parents to leave. Bless her heart, my grandmother turned out to be my most powerful supporter throughout all of this. She related tales of how my grandfather had always been proud of my achievements and how he especially wanted to make sure all his grandchildren had equal chances. She even said Grandpa had maintained a scrapbook of my accomplishments, newspaper clippings of academic honors, copies of my college acceptance letters, and even the program from that school play my parents had been late for. This was both a sad and wonderful realization. Grandma also volunteered to set the record straight with the wider family. She organized a family gathering, excluding my parents, and laid out the entire history of my parents' partiality, including events I had long forgotten or had never even heard about. Having someone finally recognize the unfairness I had gone through for years was validating, but it also reopened old scars. About my sister Amy, she finally found her voice in all this. She came to me personally and apologized for not standing up for me earlier. After some soul-searching and several long talks with our grandmother, she said she thought our parents' favoritism was wrong, but she had been too terrified to confront it. We discussed our childhood and how it influenced both of us at great length and with emotional intensity. Amy admitted that being the favorite child wasn't as wonderful as it seemed. She never learned how to stand on her own 2 feet and felt great pressure to live up to our parents' expectations. She shared stories of times she wanted to do things on her own, but our parents would swoop in and handle everything for her, depriving her of the opportunity to grow and learn from her mistakes. For our relationship, this talk marked a sea change. We began to mend the sibling link our parents' partiality had broken. Just the 2 of us have been routinely meeting for coffee to talk and support each other through this family crisis. Her declaring that she was going to pay for college with her inheritance astonished everyone. She claimed seeing me stand up for myself motivated her to start managing her own life. Once she decided what she wanted to study, she registered at a nearby community college first, intending to transfer to a 4-year university. Our parents let out startled gasps. They knew I believed that their babying had not done Amy any favors. The response of my parents to all this has been varied and evolving. They first attacked both of us, angrily. They tried to guilt Amy into quitting college to help the family, saying I had turned her against them. They changed strategy when that proved ineffective. After several protracted talks with my grandmother and seeing Amy's significant transformation, my mother began to recognize how damaging their actions had been. She has made some hesitant moves toward reconciliation, even starting therapy to address her issues. She got in touch to apologize, admitting that she had been unfair and asking for a chance to make things right. It's a slow process, and while I'm gently hopeful, I'm also keeping strong boundaries. Sadly, my dad has been less likely to admit any mistakes. Still furious, he feels as though he is the victim in all this. He has been cold toward Amy since she chose to go to college and hardly speaks to me. He has tried a few times to control us, threatening to sell our childhood house if we fail to come to our senses or offering to forgive us if we realize we were wrong. Although we are both standing strong, it hurts to see him distance himself from both of his children like this. The dynamics among the extended family have changed dramatically. I now live closer to my dad's siblings and my grandmother, who have been quite helpful. Hearing from my aunts and uncles about handling my dad's challenging behavior over the years has lessened my sense of loneliness in this fight. Deeper bonds with some of my cousins who stood by me have also developed. Starting a monthly cousin dinner allows us to all catch up, free from the drama of the older generations. For myself, I have been making good use of my inheritance. Having paid off my college loans, I now feel an amazing degree of financial freedom. Working with a financial advisor, I have put together a varied investment portfolio. I've also set aside some funds to maybe launch my own company someday. Opening a community center with affordable mental health services and financial literacy seminars is something I'm exploring. But for me, paying for therapy for myself and offering to do the same for Amy has been the most significant use of the money. Both of us are learning to set healthy boundaries with our parents and are working on healing from our childhood experiences. Though it's a long road, I already feel as though I'm growing in understanding and ability to overcome the effects of emotional neglect and long-term partiality. This whole process has brought some surprisingly good improvements into my life. I now know a lot about setting boundaries and standing up for myself. Though I know I did the right thing, it hasn't been easy, and there are still difficult days. I feel good about myself for standing firm against guilt and pressure. Among the most unexpected results has been a change in my work path. Dealing with all this family conflict and undergoing therapy has helped me see my passion for supporting others. I've realized how driven I am to help people who have gone through similar family dynamics and dysfunction. I'm currently thinking about returning to school to specialize in working with adult children of emotionally immature parents and train as a family therapist. I've also been helping young people from challenging family homes at a nearby youth facility. Being able to offer the kind of encouragement and support I wish I had had as a youngster is immensely satisfying. I'm even considering creating a scholarship fund for children from similar circumstances using some of my inheritance. My contact with Amy has kept getting better. Once a month, we have a siblings' day where we do something fun, just the two of us. Our hike and picnic last month was the most relaxed and connected I'd felt since we were small children. Without our parents' influence, we are gently reconstructing our connection on our own terms. Regarding my parents, things remain tricky. My mom has been trying to rebuild our relationship. She has been regularly attending therapy and has even begun to see some of the damage her favoritism caused. We've had a few one-on-one lunches where we've had some honest, though challenging, talks about our past and moving forward. It's not perfect, but improvement is evident. My dad still resists change. He still says he did nothing illegal and that Amy and I should be appreciative. He refuses to be in the same room with me, which is why he's missed several family functions. Although it hurts, I'm trying to let go of my need to make him see things differently or control his reactions. For both Amy and me, Grandma now serves as a rock. She's been sharing more stories about our grandfather and his pride in us for standing up for ourselves. She always supports justice and understanding, which is why she's been a fantastic mediator in our family problems. The whole process has taught me a lot of lessons about the true meaning of family. I've come to see that sometimes the family you choose can be more supportive than the one you were born into. Along with developing a close-knit circle of friends who have been very helpful along this journey, I have grown closer to my aunts, uncles, and cousins who stood by me. Setting boundaries and practicing self-care have also become more important to me. I'm getting better at saying no to situations that compromise my mental health, and I no longer feel guilty about prioritizing my personal well-being. I was so preoccupied with trying to earn my parents' approval that I had always put off exploring new interests and hobbies. To those in similar situations, I would advise this. Don't let someone make you feel guilty about getting what is rightfully yours, even if it creates conflict. It's okay to stand up for yourself. Family dynamics can be complicated, but you deserve fair treatment. Remember, it's never too late to start building the life you deserve. See a therapist if needed, surround yourself with supportive people, and don't hesitate to set boundaries. Your personal worth is defined by who you are, not by how your family treats you. I want to thank each of you once more for your suggestions and encouragement. It meant more than you could have known during a really challenging time. Although the road hasn't been easy, I'm excited about the future and feel a self-assurance I haven't experienced in years. I'm excited about where this new chapter of my life will lead, and I'm resolved to stop the pattern of favoritism and build healthier relationships in my own future family.